just having a go. If
Yeah.
you put yourself in the mix, like I think I cold called you and said, "Hey, mate."
Yeah, look, to be honest, that's what grabbed me right from the start. Hello and welcome to Level Up with Duayne Pearce. My dream is to improve the residential building industry for all involved. Throughout this podcast, we're going to be chatting to all types of industry experts to make sure that builders, tradies and clients all have a fantastic experience. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Level Up with me, Duayne Pearce. We've got another cracking episode for you today because I've got young Shane Steele here with me. What a cracking last name. I think that is just friggin' awesome. But Shane actually runs Steele House Raising. He's a strapping young lad. He's done our work for a little while and really looking forward to having a chat with you, mate. So thanks very much for coming along.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And we'll get straight into it. So I think we've got a lot to talk about today. Like you're a young bloke, you're doing really well. Like you do a fantastic job for us on the work that you do. But like I'm just really keen to know more about you, how you got into the industry. And I think our listeners especially will probably want to know a little bit more about house raising. So
Yep.
Mate, let's get into it. How did you get into it, and what's your passion for house raising?
So I am a fourth generation house re-stumper, I'd say. So my great grandfather, this is probably before business times per se, re-stumped houses, obviously with timber stumps, and then following that, my grandfather was a boilermaker, and I don't know how it sort of worked out, but my nan started buying and selling removal homes,
Yeah.
and so I think they used to pay someone to move them, and then my grandfather would stump them, make the stumps.
So locally, like in Brisbane?
Yeah, so they were down at Yatla.
Yeah.
They actually, the old Waterford Drive-In was where they started.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah, so
That was their yard?
yeah, that was their yard.
Yeah, right.
I think it's a retirement village now, but yeah, that's where my parents grew up. And then, so they obviously worked up to a point where they bought their own truck and trailer and started doing their own like house removals,
Yeah.
And then my mum and her two brothers took over that once they got old.
Yeah.
Like house removing's real. Pretty well every house removing company's third or fourth generation,
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's real.
They're
Because
big,
no one else
like-
wants to do it. They make their kids,
Well, mate, it's bloody hard work from what I've
Yeah.
seen. So, and look, the ones like I know it was your uncle, wasn't it? You got to on one of our projects, you got him in to help out a bit with his truck and move the house around the site for us. But and so yeah, so you've obviously moved away from the house removal side of it.
Yeah.
And
So my mum, she probably saw something special in me. Sent me. We live around. They live around Beenleigh, down that area. That's where the yard is, down in Yatla, and sent me up to Nudgee to go to school.
Yeah.
I think she was probably unimpressed. So I finished school, and I probably didn't take school too seriously, if I'm being honest.
So you I think you're probably similar to me. Like I had no interest at all in school. I just couldn't wait to get out, just work hard. Like that was my passion.
100%. So prior to school, so my cousin Keith, he still works for my mum and her two brothers. So they run the company currently to this day.
Yeah.
And my uncle Keith, so my granddad's name's Keith, and so I was lucky enough that I wasn't the firstborn son, so I got a good name. But
mate, I just love the last name, Steele. Bloody hell, should be Superman or something.
People always think I spelt it wrong. We sort of. Mum ran the office and did the admin stuff. So every school holidays, I should probably get in trouble for this, but every school holidays we'd get shipped off to work, and it made me pretty tough because, at Smoko, have chin-up competitions. Like, we never did any real work. And my uncle would be like, oh, who can smash a concrete stump in less hits with a sledgehammer? And just stupid shit. Like, and you
But
don't...
mate, all that shit makes you who you are. Like,
Oh,
it's
100%.
building character.
But it was awesome because I had 2 or 3 cousins there every school holidays, and we have a wrestle in the backyard. Like,
Yeah.
I can't imagine what people were thinking when we rocked up to their house. But
Well, yeah, especially these days.
yeah,
You did that these days.
Yeah, you couldn't. But it was real good, you know. Like, and the stuff they made you do, like who can dig a hole the fastest, you don't realise now, but they're just making you work hard without thinking about working hard, you know. And probably Mum probably sent me up here for school because out of all the kids that worked, I was probably the least hard worker, you know, which is people will go, oh, I'd hate to meet the other ones, but
well, mate, that surprised me because
I was probably a bit entrepreneurial, I guess you'd say, you know, like, so I think Mum sent me up to school up here thinking I'd become a doctor or a lawyer or something of the sorts. And I guess I got to high school and it had its distractions. I love playing footy and I loved just having a good time with my mates. And I was on all my report cards, like I was pretty mathematically gifted. I was good at English, but I wasn't really about it. And then just like tech, like I really liked like welding and building stuff, you know what I mean?
So did you finish all your schooling?
I finished all my schooling.
Yeah. I
was probably having too much of a good time, and Mum said if I left school, I'd have to go
move houses.
So I stayed till the end.
I think that probably one thing there, because like it actually took me a long time. It's probably actually only in the last couple of years that I have sort of I guess not been as hard on myself. Like I really gave myself a hard time for not putting in an effort at school. And I think I actually probably used that in a lot of the issues I had in the early days in my business and things. I would use that as an excuse that I hadn't put in the effort at school. I wasn't an intelligent person. I wasn't good at reading and writing. And it's only in the last couple of years I've really got over that. So I don't think... I sort of feel that you might be holding a bit of a grudge that you didn't turn out the way Nudgy would have liked you to turn out.
Yeah.
But like everyone's different, and mate, from what I've seen, and so how long? I think you've been doing our work for maybe four years now.
Probably
maybe?
3, I would say 3 years.
And mate, in the time that I've known you, like you've like I've seen you grow. Like you're definitely very passionate, and you're a good worker.
I think some days, when it's pissing down rain and you're trying to get concrete at 3 o'clock, some days I think, fuck, I should have just... They're the days I wish I did better at school.
Crawling under houses.
Once I finished school, I went straight back to moving houses.
Yep.
Until, like I said, I was having a gap year, but I worked at a place called Shane Equipment, building cranes for a little bit, and then moved houses for a little bit. And, you know, being 16, I really liked carpentry. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but it wasn't house removing. And, when you're 16 or 17 and you 6 of us are jumping in the work truck every morning and you're hard up for money to buy smoko, and you see, builders rocking up with brand new Land Cruisers, you think, fucking hell, I wouldn't mind doing this, So, and obviously you don't know the complexities of it until now, but so
everyone thinks the grass is greener, mate.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So
how old were you when you start? So you did a bit of fluffing around for a few years, and then
probably I wouldn't say a few years, probably 6 months.
Yeah.
And then so as I said, I was probably out of my mum has 8 siblings, so we come from a big family,
Yeah.
And I was probably the one that mucked around a bit out of, there's 4 or 5 kids that went to work, and I probably didn't work the hardest. And it was, it's probably a bit sad that it had to happen this way, but my granddad was dying of cancer, and he said, he was a real hard worker. I've never, and was a Boilermaker, but like I go to his, even like now they passed away, obviously I sometimes go to his house. He's wheelchair ridden for like the last 5 or 10, they told him he had 6 months to live. And he lived for another 10 years, but wheelchair ridden, but still went to work every day. I'd lift him into the truck to, you know, sometimes I go up help him do and re-stumping out west. I'd lift him into the truck and he'd drive and you'd have to lift him back out into the, you know, and he's just tough, you know. And he sort of said to me, he said, look, like I fucking haven't got much left to go. You got to do something with yourself because like I love you.
Yeah.
Before I die, I'm fucking, you know. And I just said, fuck it, I'll just try and get in a carpentry apprenticeship. Like, I like building stuff. I'll see how it goes. And sure enough.
That's awesome, mate. Like, you've been able to spend that time with him. And like for him to push you along like that and for you to jump in and run with it, that's awesome.
100%. And so I got a carpentry apprenticeship and then got a carpentry apprenticeship. I told him about it and then he died probably 2 days later. So it was good. Yeah, it was good, you know. Yeah. And so even there'd be some day, and I was working for a builder, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say him on it, but his name's Rod from Myriad Projects, and he is a small time builder, and probably similar to you. He come from a project management background. Yeah. And real strenuous on doing a good job, you know. But it was commercial based, you know. We started off doing renos and went to commercial, and I hate commercial with a passion. Just like there's no love in it, you know.
No, it's all just, well, mate, they stick tenants in and like there's no thought in it.
That's exactly right. And I think we were doing window reveals for like 6 months. We were doing window reveals and they were Tassie Oak window reveals, and you couldn't. There was no, you weren't supposed to face fix them. All you were allowed was like 4 or 5 finishing nails, and it was all Caulfield block. Yeah. So I had to go drill 24 mil holes with a masonry bit and put a timber dowel in so you could just shoot a finish nail into that, you know. So I literally was on a hammer drill for the best part of like 6 months, and every day I just woke up thinking, fuck this. Like,
so the carpentry apprenticeship didn't really turn out to...
Yeah, like it, but same deal, like I said, I told me Grandad I'd give it a red hot crack, and I ended up getting on with another builder and finished my apprenticeship.
Yeah, good on you.
And I really enjoyed carpentry, and then...
So just touched on that. So a big part of Level Up and these podcasts and everything I'm trying to do in the industry is to really help the younger generation coming through, because I had an incredibly tough time until I started owning and taking responsibility for things. But like the story you've just told, even about your carpentry apprenticeship, and just the fact that so much of the time you're not doing shit you like doing, but you've got to tough it out, and you've just got to, and that was what builds your character and builds your resilience and will make you a better, whatever trade you end up being, a better business person. And so I think so many people these days, and this, look, I don't want to categorize people, but people just don't put in the effort. Like we've had guys that turn up and we put them on for an apprenticeship, and like, so I still call myself, like, I'm a real builder. Like, we do everything. The footings that you've seen on our jobs, we like landscaping, carpentry, concrete, like we do the lot. And we'll have a guy turn up to do like we'll have him on trial, or he might be a school-based apprentice, and he might be digging some holes for whatever, a fence or pergola or stirrups or whatever, or he might be doing some concrete or whatever. And they do it for one day. And then, like, I've had guys that have come, we've had them doing stuff, and they've gone to get smoke and they haven't come back. Yeah. And like the story, like you just telling that story, how you're stuck on a hammer drill for months, like doing shit that you weren't really into, like that's made you who you are now.
100%. And I sort of said to my boss, I said, like, after, so we got that job done, and he, like, probably one of the most straight up, like there'd be so I worked for a few builders. There'd be a few builders, and I won't say who they are, but they haven't even paid my super yet. That's one thing I will say about him. And he never did overtime. That's one thing I say about apprentices now. They get pretty good money. You know, like I think,
mate, the first year apprentice now is earning more than I earned on my last year.
Yeah.
Actually, a fourth year apprentice now is earning more than what I started as a subcontract carpenter. Like, it's unbelievable.
It's yeah, and I think I was probably, not to make excuses or nothing, but I was in that interim phase where they got rid of tool allowances, but you're still getting shit money. It was like, you know,
So you got ripped off and
Yeah.
you couldn't pay for your tools.
And so he was a real good builder, but we never did 10 minutes of overtime, you know. So
Yeah.
I had to go do hang doors for mates, mums, and all that sort of stuff too.
Yeah.
You know, and I went
So get ahead.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I was playing Colts down in North, so like you'd be at GPO every Saturday night, blowing all your money. So like, it's a sad state of affairs, really.
So you're into your footy. Like,
Yeah. So, and that's like, I wasn't like I played half right footy, but I was never much good. I'm actually half blind in my right eye.
Yeah.
From birth, so the only way I sort of half stood out was just jamming people, you know. So like that, and that's
So you were your forward?
yeah. I played lock, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think I had one coach say to me once, I wouldn't put my feet where you put your head, but so that's why it looks like this.
So did you finish your apprenticeship?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. So I finished my apprenticeship and then worked for a few architectural builders, and that's sort of like, and I'm not speaking ill of any other house re-stumpers or whatnot, but so obviously house raising is a big thing in Brisbane. So
Yeah. Yeah, well, mate, every street you drive down's got an old house, isn't it?
So we're obviously getting house raises done, and like, and I'm not innocent from ever making a mistake. You'd be lying to say you were, but just a few things that, you know, if I did a shit job when I was working for my parents, my uncle would be kicking my ass in the backyard. It wasn't like, oh, fuck, you should have done this, right? But like, so, and I think especially being a chippy, you know, like if you got posts that are hard up on a window against a plan and you got 100 mil of beam left over, you just push it that way and not tempt fate that the boys put it 15 mil out of plumb and it's in the window, you know?
Yeah.
So I find, and that's why I was like, oh, well, I can, and the other thing was, I see, and even builders now, and maybe it would be different now if I try to start a building company now, but at the time I wanted to work for myself. I left working for a builder who was a real good dude, and I went and worked for a builder who was like, sort of not shafted me, but wasn't.
Yeah, it wasn't doing the right thing.
Well, they poached me and said, oh, it's going to be like this, it's going to be like this, and I said, look, I'm not leaving unless it's like this and this, and I got there and it wasn't the case, and I thought,
there's plenty of that goes on.
I thought, fuck this, like I can't work for someone, but I don't like doing, I didn't like the idea of doing contract carpentry, like new homes, they don't do much for me, and then architectural stuff, I knew I can read plans pretty well, and I thought.
So you've obviously, like, you're brought up in that background, like removal housing, stuff in houses like that, and you've obviously got a passion for it. Yeah. And like, I think it's good that you've tried things. Like, your granddad told you to have a crack. You went and had a crack. You did your apprenticeship. You've done the hard yards, and like, I think it's good on you for making a decision to go and have a crack on your own.
Well, that's it. And I wanted to work for myself, and I thought, like, for argument's sake, I think some people, I don't know whether they think they're better than what they are, or they're like, I wouldn't start a building company if I didn't have 10 years experience as a supervisor. Yeah. Even when I was working on all these jobs, I had a diary and I'd write down, like, all right, we're doing shiplap cladding on the ceiling, and I'd work out after work I'd work out how many square meters it was, and I'd be like, right, it's two blokes, we fucking fucked around doing this in the corner because there's a downpipe there and it took ages to scribe it, rucka. And then when I'd go do cashies or whatever, and I didn't do any cash.
No, that's just part of the game. But you were educating yourself.
100%.
Like, you're taking notes of what you're doing and then using that to help yourself when you're doing your jobs on the weekend, so you can lay the right time and right materials.
That's exactly right. But then when I wanted to work for myself, I was like, right, I'll go get my builder's license, and I just looked at or probably just made my head explode just thinking about like how much would go into So I thought I can work for myself. I can, and as I said, not to knock any other house raisers, but I thought I could stand out doing a better job than what other people could, and I'll try and be a half right bloke. Like I'll be straight up with you. The boys put a post in the wrong spot yesterday. We're putting a new post in on Saturday. So
yeah. Oh mate, look, I can definitely vouch for you, and I think like that is the important part, that you own it, because nothing pisses me off more like when we have a trade or a supplier or anybody that stuff's up an order, stuff's up something on site, or myself, one of my own boys or whatever it may be. But if you make a mistake, it's okay to make that mistake. Just own it. Like, own it and move on and fix it. Like, you've done quite a few jobs for us now, and like the thing that really makes me gel with you is like that. I think that house raising is a really hard job. Like, and especially when you've got to twist them, slide them, bloody move them around. Like, I think there's a lot more involved in what you do than what most people think. And like, obviously on our jobs, like, you know, I'm a perfectionist, and like we put a lot of time and effort into marking things out and making sure we're working with you guys and all that sort of stuff. And like, there's been a couple of tiny, like very small things on our jobs, and you're the first one. Like, as soon as I ring you, you're back there, and that's what I really appreciate. But the other thing that's made me really gel with you is you've got passion to learn. So like, you've run me a few times and got advice, and we've just had a bit of a chin wag about certain situations that you've got yourself in, or that you're thinking about doing, or whatever. And I think the fact that you do that just shows so much about your character, and I think you're going to go a long way, mate. Like, I think you're a really hard worker.
Yeah, well, I think same deal. I think people's ego gets in the way a lot. Like I'll be honest with you, I drive past other house raisers' jobs, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's how they did that. That's how, like, you know what I mean? You got a dicky ass house, and they picked it up as you know, and you're like, oh yeah, I'll do that next time, you know. Whereas like, I don't know if they do that. I don't know if other people do that, but I'm always looking.
There's always room for improvement.
Oh well, like, if you can take a bit from him and a bit from him, and then you're doing a better job, that separates you. You know what I mean? And then that's, I think people get caught up.
Ego's a big thing, eh? Like, in our game, like,
you know? And even I get caught up in it sometimes. You know, you're like, oh fuck, this bloke's doing this, but like, it's all like, it's not always as it appears. You know? And
no, exactly. So how long have you been running your own business now? Because you're still only a young fella.
So I think it would be, maybe close to 4 years now.
Yeah.
So I think I was 21 and a half or something when I thought, oh yeah. And all it started was...
So you're only 25, 26 now, eh?
25.
Holy shit. Mate, that's awesome. So, and it's even more awesome because I know where you've gone in the last couple of years. Like, you've bought some machinery, you've got a yard, like you're really kicking some goals. So like, for all the young guys out there, and it doesn't matter what trade they're doing, like, given that the experience you've had and the lessons you've had to learn, like, if someone out there is currently doing an apprenticeship or thinking about getting into the industry, what's some advice, like what's maybe the top 3 things that you would recommend that someone does before they take the leap?
As I said, like, you got to, especially if you're new, you got to take on board what people have to say, you know. And there's been points where I haven't, and end up red in the face, and you're like, I'm a dickhead, you know. And nothing beats effort and persistence. Like, if you're like, don't take that the wrong way, where you're like, oh, it's all good that I fuck this quote, I'm just gonna work 10 hours for free. But like, just having a go. If you put yourself in the mix, you know, like, I think I cold called you and said, hey man, I want to raise your houses. You know, like, just and having belief in yourself, you know, like.
Well, mate, to be honest, that's what grabbed me right from the start, because I think during that first conversation when you rang me, you told me that you'd only been operating for 1 or 2 years, and I was like, shit, this bloke's keen. Like,
I might have even bullshitted you as well. It's only 6 months or so, you know.
But the fact that you had the balls to do that meant a lot to me, like, because that was me back in the day. Like,
100%.
when I started subbing, that was me, like, telling a few porkies to get the work and then just putting in everything, every effort and every bloody bit of me that I could to make sure I did the right thing.
Yeah, 100%. And everyone likes to see someone having a crack, you know?
Yeah.
And that's like, and then so with buying the yard and that sort of stuff, from day dot, I know however people want to run their business, that's all good. But from day dot, I've always made my own steel. Like my granddad was a boilermaker. I went to night school. While I was doing my apprenticeship in carpentry, I went to night school, and I'm not a qualified boilermaker, but I've got a certificate 3 in steel fabrication. I've got a QBCC license for steel fabrication.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I'm a qualified structural welder, you know. So, and like I found, you know, if you've got an account, for argument's sake, if you got an account with a smaller fabricator, they'll probably do it a little bit cheaper than a bigger fabricator, but you're on a short leash, you know what I mean? So, and then if you've got an account with a bigger fabricator, Brisbane Post and Beams, for example, they'll give you $100,000 account, but you're waiting a week for post.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, they might have better turn. You know what I mean? Like,
I know what you mean.
You're not a big fish anymore.
Yeah.
Whereas if you go to a smaller fabricator, you are. However, they don't have the means to give you like $50,000 of Hulk worth of steel. You know, and when you're talking raw,
well, it's important to know all that because that helps your business.
100%.
Because you need to be dealing with people that will turn things around in a timely manner that will help you out. So like just back on that. So number 1 was like be open minded and listen to people, take people's advice. Number 2 was be persistent. I think, wasn't it?
Yeah. Be persistent.
So what's number 3?
Number 3 would be honest to yourself as well. Like, the reason why I left that job was because I thought, fuck, if I'm getting paid $7.95 an hour, like I've done 3 months of, and that 3 months of hammer drilling turned into 3 months of building hoardings. Do you know what I mean? I said, and that's not where that's not where I wanted my carpentry. If you want to be a commercial carpenter, then that may be the way you want to go. You know, if you want to chase the big hourly rate on an EBA site, then by all means do that. Yeah. But I wanted to build shit I could stand back and go, fucking hell, like have a go, like hand pick shit.
So you've I'm getting the impression, mate, you're very driven. Like you've got goals. I think that's definitely one thing that's got me to where I am. Like you have to have goals, and like I'm not sure if you, like I do a lot of cuckoo shit now. Like I think it's I think it helps, but like I write shit down. Like I've got a journal. I would like to say I do it daily, but I don't. But definitely a few times a week. I'm really big on writing my goals down and making sure I'm doing something to work towards them. So the fact that you've been like, it's all good that first carpentry apprenticeship didn't work out because you had a bigger picture in your mind, and so you've done what you've needed to do to get to that bigger picture. And I was always upfront and honest with him, and I said, look, this isn't what I want to do. Yeah. So we got a real good relationship. I quote jobs for him to this day, you know. Yeah. So yeah, like whatever your goals are, and that's exactly right. I'd like to say I write it down. It'd probably be a monthly thing for me if I'm being honest. I probably could bring that forward a bit and do it to a weekly thing. But it's funny you say write down goals. So I bought my first house when I was 19 in Deagon, and all my mates were like, "What are you doing?" And I think it cost me $240,000, which is like unfathomable. Hey, that's a good effort, you know. And see, so people, this is another thing. Like people don't know behind the scenes, like the fact that you've worked since you're 15, 16 and you've been able to achieve that's unreal. Yeah. And then like I had a goals wall sprayed, like written on the wall, because like I got it, and it was in a bad way, you know, just like an old fibro shack. And you lived in it? Yeah, we kicked on every weekend. Like it was like that was like the go-to after, you know, you finish up in the valley at 3 o'clock in the morning and come home, and everyone I knew would be at my house, you know what I mean? And that's awesome. You got to go through those times. Like, everybody's got to, and look, even now, like every now and then you got to cut loose. You got to have a good time. 100%. And like, I still didn't cheat myself, but I had mates who used to go to, you know, Rick's on a Thursday night and then the Boundary on a Sunday, and you just like I'd still turn up to work, you know, because you got to go where your bread's buttered, you know what I mean? Yeah. But then the same thing, we'd like doing demo or whatever, like
all my housemates just chipped in, like, you know what I mean? So like I renovated that for like, I got my parents to lift it, and then me and my cousin Keith stumped it on a Sunday and mixed like just the way the week worked out. I had the concreter booked in the next Thursday or whatever, so I had to get the plumber in and do the under slab. And you know, you're like, I was like a second year apprentice or something. You know, I think I used that government like loan that you get as an apprentice to like do my concrete slab. Yeah, like so everything, like, you know, everything's on a budget. So and then I was like, fuck, if I.
So you're a bit of a wheeler deal. Like you're always thinking outside the box by the sounds of it.
100%. Because if you don't, like that's one thing my parents and my grandparents have always sort of, they're real, and sometimes it's probably to their shortfall, they're real anti finance. Do you know what I mean? Like if you can't save up, and if you don't have the money, like I understand with a building company, it probably gets a bit. But if you don't have the money to do that house raising job, if you can't do that job and not get paid, then don't do it. Not that you're not going to get paid, but just...
Oh, mate, I think that's awesome advice for everyone. Like I'm on the same page. Like obviously, you have to have debt. Like 100%, whether it's business debt or like buying a house or whatever, and there's good debt and bad debt. But I do think it's a really bad problem now. Like I was always brought up, like if you can't pay for it, you can't have it. Like and like. You don't take your car for a service if you can't pay for it.
100%.
Like, so and it blows my mind these days. Like we even went to an event only a couple of weeks ago where my wife volunteered and worked on the gate, and it was a big rodeo, and mate, there was individuals and families paying to get in with afterpay, and think that people like the society, that's the way people are working, and then like it really blows my mind. Like and I guess it comes back to your work ethic. Like you've got to work hard, put money in the bank, and when the money's in the bank, then you can spend it.
That's exactly right. And like apprentices with brand new SR5 Hiluxes do my lid. Like I like.
So, mate, but I think you and I are on a very similar pages. Like my first car, mate, was a old HZ style side Ute. That. Like I admit, my old man helped me out, purchased it. I think it was about $1,100, $1,200. He had a big paint shop at the time, and basically I was working like I was 15. Actually, we bought it before I was 15. And then as soon as I got my first job, basically every day after work, like me and him would be working on that thing, getting it going, and like we painted it ourselves, we did everything ourselves, and like I drove that thing around for years. Like, and then even up until
probably worth more than an SR5 Hilux these days.
But like it was an old car.
100%,
like, these young people these days, they want to like. I would rather see a young kid turn up in an old shit box, and put all his money into his tools, show up to work hard, and do that, rather than see someone turn up, all clean, finance to the hill with a brand new car. Like I've always, like, I don't know if this is discriminating or not, but when I had a huge subcontract carpentry company, if I was looking for carpenters, a lot of the time I would employ them based on what they showed up in. And if they showed up in a brand new car with a new trailer and everything was all nice and shiny, 9 times out of 10 I wouldn't employ them. If they turned up with a tray back ute, planks, ladders, all their gear, like their trailer all knocked around, I'd put them on, because to me it showed that they were a hard worker.
Yeah, 100%. And that's so. Talking my first year, I think I had maybe starting my first year of carpentry. I think I might have had 10 grand saved, right?
Yeah.
Or it might have been 15. And I bought a Hilux workmate with like 150,000 Ks on it off some old dude down the Goldie. And it was actually an SR, because I remember it had a 4-litre V6, you know. So I was like,
upmarket, mate.
Upmarket, power windows and the head unit, you know.
Yeah.
And same deal, wheeler and dealer. I knocked him down heaps on the phone. Like, oh, come on, mate, I'll come grab it today. Ruck. I get there and I got him to knock another $500 off, because I said, oh, you got the stock wheels there. I don't need the rims. Like, and then I had that ute until I had that ute until maybe 6 months ago. I sold it to one of the boys and he crashed it.
Yeah.
But and then same deal. And then I bought an old builder's trailer off some dude out of Gumtree, and it was all rusty and shit. So me and my cousin Keith,
Keith's done a lot. Sounds like you spent a lot of time with Keith.
Me and him, we have a good time, he's I can't, I don't really drink too much, and I find it hard to relate to people because people are like, what the fuck are you doing at 7 o'clock on a Saturday night? Why are you down in the shed working on your car? I can't.
Yeah.
Whereas me and him, obviously we're cousins, we're from the same sort of, we come up in the same back, we get on pretty well, you know what I mean?
So it interests me, what's it like at a Christmas do or something with your family if they're all house dumpers and house removals? It'd be an interesting conversation, I reckon.
Tell you what, Bundy Run would probably make a bit of money, I'll tell you that much. But it's good, and that's one thing. That's one thing that was always good, and that's probably why I don't. I can't get on with some people is with my family, because there's so many of us. Anytime you went to anyone's house, you're getting fed. There's no.
Everyone's helping each other.
Everyone's helping each other. Whereas some people aren't that way inclined, and
So let's move forward. So I think your story's unreal, mate. I love it. So you've been doing it a while now.
Yep.
I'm super impressed that someone at your age is doing what you're doing. You've bought some machinery and you've now got your yard. So is that a big goal of yours to set your yard up, be self-sufficient, make your own steel?
100%. That was a big goal of mine from the start to do that. So originally I was at and my mum's helped me out a fair bit. I was at my old girl's house in a 6x9 shed. With the first 10 jobs I did, I had a drop saw that cut 10 mil out of square. So you'd be like, oh, just drill the holes a couple 100 mil deeper so you could make a stock half of, if you're doing a house 3.8 high and the holes were 1200, you'd say, oh, drill them 1450, and old mate's like, oh, you use more concrete. But it just meant I could just get the drop saw and dock the post in half and weld the base plate in the concrete on the shitty end and use the factory edge for the nice straight top. So
you were just cutting a stock length in half, using the factory ends as your square ends to weld to your beams.
Oh, because obviously
because your drop saw wouldn't cut square.
Yeah, that's like that. And there was it was me Granddad's old drop saw I'd taxed out of his shed, and it was this old Makita thing, and you had to hold the it's a scene anyway. And then you're out there and you couldn't, when you're doing a real tall job, the posts would stick out the shed, so you'd be getting rained on while you stick welding, and
mate, I just think this is awesome. That's your story. So you've done whatever it takes to get everything done.
And the first 3 or 4 jobs I did, I dropped all the styres off on a Saturday, but it was because I had that Hilux ute and a car trailer with, the steel sticking a metre over the front, a metre over the back, and when I went and quoted the job, when I'd go and quote the job, you'd have your hair slicked back. This is just me quoting car, but little do they know you're doing 4 loads back to the yard, back to mum's to pick up the blocks.
So you were carrying all your styres around in the back?
By hand. We used to do it for the first 6 months. I didn't have a Bobcat. It was fucked. It was honestly and then,
mate, you've definitely earned everything you've got. 100%. For sure.
And then moving forward from that, anytime I bought something, I'd buy my gear truck. I bought off this old dude out at D Bay. It was real funny, and I rang him up, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, I wouldn't mind buying your truck." Rah rah rah, and I go out there, and he goes, "Oh, you're the first non-courier to come." He said it probably a bit more racist than that, but he said, "You're the first non-courier to come buy it."
Yeah,
I got offered 25. If you can give me 22, you can have it, because I spat me little spiel. It's my first truck, rah, 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 and I still ring him up to this day. Oh, what happens here? Because I wouldn't say I'm great on the mechanical side of things, but I do, me and my little brother do all my servicing on the trucks and all that, and work on my cars and that sort of stuff, all that stuff. And it just allows you to probably have better gear than what you could probably afford do you know what I mean?
So it sounds like you're pretty big on like making sure you put back into the business so the business can keep growing and expanding? And
yeah, 100%. For the first 2 years, I don't think I took a wage. Like I paid my mortgage and food.
Yeah.
And and it got to the point like it was real hard time. It got to the point where I was halfway through renovating my house, and that's the other thing. When I started my business, I was a bit of a dickhead about it. Like I had no money saved because I'm mid reno, and I just thought, fuck this, I'm going to do my own thing. So like it got to the point where I was half renovated my house, had to move back to my mum's because I couldn't afford, like the house wasn't finished.
Yeah. So you've taken the deep dive. You're trying to get a business going. You're trying to also renovate a house.
100%, you know,
and keep things going.
100%. So I was living at mum's, so I didn't really have to pay for food. I'd just eat left.
I think we've all done that.
Yeah,
mate, in the younger days.
that's it. So it's leftovers, and then she still made me pay for power and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
my mum's real onto it with that sort of stuff. She whipped out the last 4 power bills. The new power bill, look, your shed's using this much power. You're going to have to fix me up. You know, but it's only a couple $100, but still holding me accountable, you know, like helping me out, but not doing it for me, you know. So, and then, same, like everything I've done, I've just saved up till I had the money. The only thing I've financed for the whole company other than the shed was the Bobcat, and that was just because it was 0%. It was almost 2.
Yeah.
And same deal. You need
there's good debt and bad debt, and definitely, like you do have to get to that position in your business where, it's more beneficial to take that leap, spend that money, go into a bit of debt because that machine or tool or whatever you buy is going to allow you to get it done 3 or 4 times faster, so you can get the next job. And like I know we've had a few brief conversations about it, like sort of getting your head around running costs and those types of things and making sure you're charging enough.
100%.
Like I think that's a massive thing for younger people, or everyone, but definitely guys that are getting into the industry, like going from being a carpenter and getting paid an hourly rate to all of a sudden having to pay all the bills, insurances and all that type of thing.
And that's exactly right. And that was probably my sort of fail safe at the start. I was like even the work truck I got, I was looking around because I needed a work truck, and all the ones in Brisbane, like, you know, even now for a 2005-6 MPR truck with 180,000 Ks on it is 30 grand, you know?
Yeah.
And I was looking like,
I remember you ringing me I think you might have turned up to one of our jobs, not like after you bought that truck, and mate, you were stoked, like had this big smile on your face, like check out my new truck.
And
like,
no shit, I bought that for 13 grand from some dude down in Coffs Harbour. And me and Keith went down and picked it up.
Keith.
Got
to meet this Keith. He keeps going up.
Oh, got it back, and it had it was an old wine spec truck. So it only had 90,000 Ks on it when I bought it. And old mate must have got it at auction half cheap because same deal, rocked down there, and I said, look, I only got this much money. I've just driven all this way. And he sort of said, yeah, right, no dramas. I got a tray from the wreckers for $1,100. And then me and my little brother are there trying to take the ropes off with the Bobcat. It was a fucking scene. If you had your time, if I had the money at the time, or the business had been going long enough to be able to just put a new truck on finance, I would have done it. But at that point in time, that wasn't the case, and that needed to happen. So,
I think it's awesome. I think it's all part of, like I said, building your character. And mate, I think everything you're talking about is really helpful for anyone listening, especially younger guys. But look, I know a little bit about the house removing or house raising side of it, but I'm pretty keen to know more about what you guys do and how you do it. I know if there's homeowners listening, they'll be interested to know. Obviously you're aware, we do a lot of social media stuff on our jobs, and most of the jobs you've lifted, we've done walkthrough videos to show people how we mark them out, and just the little things you taught me how you we mark all the posts out and you put your coach screw in, and you give it a little bit of tolerance so that you can move the post around, and then you just drop it on the post when it's right.
I don't want to give the other house raisers any hints. No.
What's involved in your industry? Obviously a big part of it is like most trades, you've got to have a lot of gear.
100%. So so what you were saying before about house raising being a hard part of the job, the hardest thing I find about you get there, you know, in a new home when they got the slab down and you got running measurements, you can flick lines.
Yeah.
You don't have that with a house. You got a
Yeah.
fucking wall that's 50 mil bow in it on this site. So
You've turned up, there's gardens and trees and shit everywhere.
People
And
still living under the house. Like, what's going, you know, like, thankfully your work's like some jobs you do, you just think, oh my God, I'll see you in a week, get it sorted, I'll come back, you know.
Yeah.
So the first thing you do is you obviously, I go past the job before I start it and work out like the lifting steels that we use. I got a 7 meter bed on the truck, and you can't have too much overhang. So 7.5 is generally.
Yep.
Then I have 4.5s and 3 meters steel. So if you got a 8 meter wide Queenslander by 12 meters deep, you'll use it. You know, and that depends on whether it needs to slide. If it needs to slide, you'll use 2 7s and you'll have a 3 meter overhang, and you'll leave that off the front to land on the new stacks. You know.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing you do is work out the gear we need, and then when you rock up on site, you obviously cut all the tie downs on the house. So you build your stacks. You know, like if there's a bathroom, you work them out. Obviously, they work out to spacings generally, but if there's a bathroom or what have you,
it's always amazed me with like how you work out your weights.
Yeah.
So you got to sort of make sure your stie's evenly
100%
positioned, so the house doesn't. Well, we've seen in the last 2 days is one that's gone ass up in Brisbane. But,
yeah, it's no good.
We'll talk about that another day. But so yeah, like how do you do that, or you just got to wing it?
I wouldn't say wing it, but obviously there's no specific way I work it out. Just obviously, like I wouldn't say I've got 15 years experience, but like my uncles, you know, that's the thing. That's the sickest thing.
You would have seen a lot growing up.
100%. And the best thing about it, like they've done like they don't do too much house raising work. Probably they're getting a bit on. They don't like getting underneath it. Like, you know, they do. It's better for that. Like that's their core business, moving houses. But there's not much they haven't done. So any time in the last 3 years I've come to something, I've sort of been like, oh fuck, what's going on here? I just ring them up and there's like, oh yeah, I did one of them. Yeah, you know, this is how you do it. You know, so it's more of an experience thing. But obviously, you just gotta like look at bearer checkouts as well. Depending on, like, obviously house raising, you pick the house up, and the problem with house raising is you want to support it in as much as you can. To, like, in a perfect world, if you were raising a house and you didn't have to get a machine under it, you'd just do, if it's 8 meters wide, you'd have 5 stacks, 1,200, and that'd pick up 7. You know, but then you literally would have a solid block of stiles, and you could never get a machine under to do the new foundation. So that's where house raising is sort of hard. You're trying to support the house as much as you can, but almost putting the minimal amount of gear under, because
like for clients that don't know, so you're trying to support the house, but you also got to take into account where the builder's got to do new foundations, retaining
100%.
walls, slabs, plumbing,
and you got to be able to rip all the. No one likes taking 100 chops at things, so you got to rip all the old concrete out, put the new stumps in, and 9 times out of 10, there's still the 2 where the stacks are. The concrete is. So we rock up, work out a lifting game plan. We have a bit of a toolbox meeting, me and the boys. So we mark out the stacks. We build the stacks, take weight on the house, and I always just sort of lift it. You'll probably hear me talk a lot in imperial measurements. You lift it an inch off the stumps.
I do. I've heard you talk about that on even our jobs. Like what is that? Just because you're brought up around old timers? That, and
decks are built with an inch fall. The sties are 6 inches by 150 by 125. But if you know, obviously, when you're sliding houses, or even when you're jacking them up, depending on what ground's underneath it, sometimes the stacks sink into the, or even just when you rock up, if the ground's not level, you go, all right, chuck that one on its 5 and those on that on its 6, and then that levels up the bottom, you know, and it's just easier than, I think that's probably the 150 mil, 100, you know what I mean? So chuck 2 styles on their 6 there, or the dress down, you know, and then when you pick the house up, if you just ran the steel hard under the bearers and you had a deck that had an inch fall, the steel wouldn't be able to accommodate for that. So, and then also if you've got you're obviously 9 times out of 10, a bearer is 125 by 75. That's just extremely common size.
So they're pretty, like in I'm not sure on other states, but like definitely here in Queensland, like with having old Queenslanders, like I definitely find as a builder, like there's in that certain era of house, they're all very similar.
100%.
Like they
Yeah.
might just be orientated a different way or whatever, but they're very similar. So
There's two main styles where the bearers run, like if their house is 8x12, the bearers run across their house, or
Yeah.
there's sometimes they're a bit funny where the bearers run front to back, and
Yeah.
then it always just goes off that size as well. Like you got an 8x12 with a veranda on one side, which takes it to 10.5, or then you got a wraparound veranda. Sorry,
yeah,
which takes it, and it's always 2.4 centers,
yeah.
600 mil centers for the joist 9 times out of 10.
And it happens really, like I'm always blown away by how quick it is. Like like we'll have you booked in to come, and like we're real big on our client meetings and stuff, and the client will be asking like, oh, like when do you think it'll be up? And like I'll be like, oh, if it gets here tomorrow, it'll be up by the following day. And they're like, what? Like
I try to be honest, and that's probably happens because I'm on site with the boys.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say cracking the whip, but if you lead by example a little bit, people are happy to work hard if you're there working hard with them.
Yeah, I think that's an awesome point, mate. Like you definitely got to lead by example.
So yeah, we set the house up. You pick it up an inch, and then so what I was saying, you work out your dress down. So if you got a 125 bearer and you've got a bigger PFC on the side of the bearer, obviously if you run the steel hard up to the bearer, you're not going to be able to put that PFC into it's not. There's not enough room to fit it in. So
so you're allowing for the new steel as well.
You're allowing for the new. So you got to run around, look at the plans, and go, all right, well we got a 250 PFC that's going to hang down 125, but then you've got to roll it up on the angle. So you, instead of packing it down 125, which is 5 inches, you'll pack it down 6 inches. So then you've got an inch of plate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or you might go 2 5s and give yourself 50 mil to muck lock.
No, it's a lot more complicated than I think most people think, and lifting it up is just the easy part, isn't it? Then you got to come in.
Once you set it up, if you set it up right, raising it is like you just pump a jack out, slip another block in, and away you go.
It's awesome how they go up. We've done a few time lapse cameras, and then the hard work starts, like getting the steel in, getting the posts in, drilling the piers, like
So obviously, we other people do it all different ways. We put the steel in and jack it up a foot, which is 300 mil for those that aren't. And that's the other reason why you use imperial. It's easy to 4 styles to a foot because you got 2 each side. So then you're like, oh, it's gonna go up 10 foot. You got 6 stacks.
Yeah,
that's 60 times 4 styles.
Yeah,
and then that's 240 or whatever it is.
No, it's a lot of. Well, you can see why you're good at maths, mate. At school, but so. Look, I think you're really smashing it out, mate. It's really good to see a young guy really getting into it and having a crack. And like we've touched on everything, like schooling and going through apprenticeships, having hard times, like all that type of stuff. So, like, what's your passion? Like, what's away from building? Like, so you've grown up around a family that is all in the industry. So it's probably no doubt that you're always going to end up in the industry in one way or another.
Yeah.
But what's like? How do you get away from it? What's your like? I know you're only 25. What's your chill out?
Probably for the last 3 or 4 years, I haven't got away from it, and that's probably something I'm looking to do now. It's funny. Everything I've done for the business, I've set it up to make it so it's easier, and then because of coronavirus, like unknowingly, I made it so you could work at like double capacity. But I just did it so I could be like, oh yeah, we got our own steel. So we'll raise the house, send 2 blokes back to the shed.
Yeah.
They can cut the posts I'll go weld the posts while the boys are
so
here.
You're in control of the whole process.
Yeah, and I've done it so it's like chill, like I've relaxed. If I did one house a week, it would be fucking mint. But then because of coronavirus, it's just gone crazy.
So you were saying before we started that. So what do you work for? About 30 odd builders.
There'd be 30 builders, give or take 1 or 2.
And then like you said, so all those 30 builders, generally smaller builders, so they might lift 1 or 2 homes a year.
Correct.
And then coronavirus come along, industry homeowners grant stuff. The industry's gone through the roof, and now each of those builders is doing 3 or 4 jobs a year.
And then you have all the like upstart builders and that's where a builder like yourself, you know, like if you book me in for a job, and sometimes like there's been times when I haven't been able to due to unforeseen events, rain.
Yeah, but you communicate. Like I give you that, mate. Like and I get that. I think that's actually a good thing for a lot of builders out there. Like I know a few people I worked for when I was subbing and stuff, and mate, they would just be abusing the shit out of people on the phone because they hadn't showed up, and yet they'd only rung them a couple of weeks before. Like there was no schedule. Like I think it goes both ways. Like the builder needs to communicate with you, like give you an update on how they're travelling, and then you update him, and it's a two-way street.
100%. And sometimes builders don't, and then the week before the job they say, "Oh, this has happened. We're not ready for you."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Well, you got to wait 3 weeks now," and they're like, they blow up about it, and I'm like, "Well,
you're not sitting around waiting for them."
I've had you book me in 6 months ago. I'd be a bit of an arsehole to turn around and go, "Oh, sorry, Duayne, I'm going to push you back a week because this bloke's not ready," whereas he's rang me a month ago.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, you look after people, look after you.
And that's what's hard in times like now, because when there wasn't so much work.
Yeah.
I know there's been a couple of times, because I always like to know where I'm sitting in the market. I've rang you up and been like, "Oh, I had a price up on this job." This is after I've won the job. We've already started the job. We'll just be standing there, you know? And you're like, "Oh, look, I didn't even get a quote. I didn't even get a second quote." And you're thinking, "Fucking hell." Like, no, but like always,
you've got to go where you stand.
100%. And obviously, you've done that many house raises and that many jobs. You'd know if I was trying to fleece you, you know. So, but like what I'm saying is,
but I think a lot of
that puts a lot of confidence in me and I don't think I've quoted a job for you that I haven't done. That's the other thing.
Well, an on-flow effect or an on-flow from that, mate, is. And look, I'm very open with my clients on this stuff as well. Like, because like at the end of the day, if a client wants to question something on our jobs, or try and supply their own thing, our game, the way that our game is, it doesn't matter if I'm hiring you as a subby or a client's looking for a builder. If you keep ringing around, you're going to find someone that's going to do it for the price you want it for.
Yeah.
But I'm a big believer in that our industry, the perfect saying for our industry is you get what you pay for. And the difference in your game, I would imagine, is like you get someone that puts a post in crooked or out of plumb or misses something and they just don't come back. You never hear from them again. And then you've got to outlay money to get that fixed. When you work with someone reputable like yourself that takes pride in what they do, if there is the odd little mistake here and there, you're the first one back, you fix it, you move on to the next one. And for me, like, I'm definitely not the type of builder that shops around. Like, we like once we build a good reputation with our trades, we keep them.
Yeah.
And it's better for me because it's better for my business. I'm not having to, for me, it's all about, I don't have to teach someone that my expectations, like the quality that I want, the way that I work, the jobs, like how I want the jobs to run. And it's just about building that reputation. Like, we got on well, I can call you up. I can say to you, "Hey, look, I rang you the other day, like, to let you know we got a few jobs coming early next year." So straight away, you've been able to get back to me and say, "Oh yeah, look, this is the sort of dates I can have," and then I can work my schedules around that, and we can work in with each other. Whereas
100%.
if you don't have that relationship, most people don't give a shit.
It's funny too, you're obviously a bit famous in builder circles. People always say, "What's he like to work for?" You know, "What's he like to work for?" I said, like, and I'll be straight up with you. I said, "Oh, he's a bit full on." Bit full on, but if I had $1 million to build a house, I'd be fucking ringing him, because I know.
Cheers, mate.
I wouldn't. You know, do you know what I mean? And I've literally said that to people, and like, and when I first started doing your work, I was like, "Holy fuck!" You know, I've you know, but like, it's not even.
Mate, to me, that is to me, what you just said there is the best compliment as a builder I can have. And like over the years, like the best compliments that I get is we have built houses for our subbies and suppliers and reps. And for me, to be able to build someone's house that person is working for a shitload of other builders and they've chosen me, like that's awesome.
And yeah, well, 100%. And that's like, and that's what I say to them. Like, look, it was. But
it's saying that
it's not that you're full on. It's just, and micromanagement's not a bad thing. And I know people would get up in arms about it, But like, I don't give, like, I won't even finish that, but I come out to site and you got the post marked out. I'm like, sweet, measure the, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No one does that. People,
Yeah.
like some builders say, oh, can you knock the profiles up? And I'm like just for a slide. And I'm like, hang on, like,
Yeah.
you
I think a lot of builders try and palm shit off, mate, and then they don't take responsibility for
when
it.
it goes to shit.
Yeah.
And that's why, that's another thing I'll say to people starting their own business. If it's not your job,
Don't do it.
don't do it, because you always get at the end of the job. Like,
Yeah. I think a lot of, I don't know. I'd like to think they don't, but I hope, like, I do think there would be builders out there that do try and palm off work that the trade really shouldn't be doing, because they know if there's something wrong, they just palm it back to them.
100%.
Or, which is wrong. Like, the builder, to me, it's the builder's responsibility, and this is why I'm a bit of a micromanager, I think. And look, I guess the other incredible thing that I've got is an incredible team. So, like, my supervisor and my chippies, they're all, like, I always tell them, like, they're not tradesmen, they're craftsmen, but and I'd be lost without them. But I take my role really, I guess, personally. For me as a builder, and I think a lot of people out there probably, like, clients don't really know what a builder does, and I actually think there's a lot of builders that probably don't step up from a tradie and actually take the responsibility they should have. And for me as a builder, it is my responsibility that everything on my sites is correct.
100%.
And the client's paying me to make sure that happens. So the client's paying me to make sure it's set out correctly, make sure it's all done as per the drawings, engineering, make sure I get certificates, make sure I employ the right trades to do the quality work. And I take that, I do. I take that very personally. But like, the fact that you would get me to build your house, that means a lot.
And that's I didn't mean anything bad by saying you're a bit full on, but like,
I don't, no offense.
That's but I'm happy. I'm not easy breezy working, but if you want to have a chippy there the whole time supervising me, obviously that costs you money. Do you know what I mean?
Well, it's not so much supervising. It's
not supervising.
It's just making sure. It's just working in together to make sure we get a good outcome.
100%.
And that's nothing. It's definitely nothing against you or your boys. Like, to me, it's also about giving my guys the opportunity to learn more. Like, they, like I said, we've learned, like, the way you use your coach screws and do your posts, like that's all new to us. Like, we think that's fantastic. So it's just about learning and I work with Brad a lot. He's and that's like it. I don't take, it's no skin off my nose if you've got someone there working in it and they pull me up on something and go, hey, actually, there's a stairwell there. We're gonna do, just saves me coming back and fixing it anyway. I'm not going to be opposed to that. So that's I forgot where we were. No, you're all good, mate. So where to from here? Like, you've come a long way in a short period of time. Like, where do you see Steele house raising going?
I think I've probably been trying to do it the last 6 months or so. It's getting my life back a bit would be probably the biggest thing. Like, I get up and I go to the gym 4 o'clock pretty well every morning these days. I actually got it's hard when you go from being a fit person your whole life to maybe a year ago, I think I weigh 90 kilos or 91 kilos now, but I got up to like 115 and just like carrying that weight. And I'm not real big on caring what other people think, but just looking at yourself in the mirror, like from being a fit young chippy to a fat young chippy, I guess. It's, that takes a mental toll on you, hey? Like, you're like, holy fuck, like, I've let myself go. So, and
do you think, look, for you, was that the business taking over? Like, not the business was taking up all your time?
100% on just, not even that, but like, just me neglecting shit and then just having no time and being fucked. Like, just like, I make my lunches on Sundays now. So then, and if I don't make my lunches, I get depressed because I'm eating out of a hot box. Because you know what I mean? You're racing around like a blue-ass fly. Sometimes I don't even get to eat my lunches, but like I try and make myself. And it's funny how your body works. Like, if you don't eat and you just have one big meal morning and night, it's actually worse for you than like I smash a couple apples in the morning.
Oh, mate, I love the apples. That's my thing.
And
apple and a glass of milk in the morning.
100%, you know, and then that's so I've been. It's not even that the business is taking over and just putting like just processes like it's all good to make a mistake but if you continue to just do the same mistake like there's been times when I haven't marked out the posts because I was probably hard up for $1 and just raised the house and then had to mark them out 4 meters in the air and you end up spending more money than if you just went fuck it, we're just going to sit down for 10 minutes and mark these stumps out and then
work it out.
You know. So like I've had to be, and like exactly what you're saying. Like I was a bit blasé with school, and I probably was a bit blasé with my life a little bit as well. You know, like and didn't take, like I've always been pretty naturally gifted at maths and that sort of stuff. So I probably didn't have to work too hard to be like I had to work hard, but like. I actually feel sorry for some people because they don't even know they're stupid. Like they don't even know they're dumb. Like like they can't even grasp the concept that like my granddad used to say, "Can you feel the pain?" And like now, and I never understood what he was saying, and now I do. You know.
Yeah. So you're getting fit again. You're getting. So your goal is to get your life back.
Yeah. Yeah. Just.
And is that obviously involves. Sort of getting the business to a point where you can step back a little bit.
100%. And I think in early days, sometimes you let people that work in your business run your business rather than you running your business. Whereas I've probably maybe over the last 6 months, there's been times, 6 months to a year, where I employed people and they were real good workers, but they had shortfalls, whether that be. And this is where, like, especially in young blokes, like drinking and gambling is like fucking.
Yeah, it's bad, eh?
It's bad, you know. Like I've had workers that will borrow money off you, and you think they're buying food or whatever, you know. And they'll go to the pokies with you, like, and you're like, you got no money.
Yeah, no, it's hard, mate. Eh? Well, what do you expect these days when it's all on your frigging phone, 100%,
mate? And it's all afterpay. Like no one ever, and that's where like a cashless society is probably bad because
you don't appreciate it.
Well, you don't see it going.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah,
and then so I've had employees that were awesome employees, but for that, like they've had dramas with their missuses and stuff, and I've kind of let it slide to a point where you can't rein it back in, you know, and then they just start like not. I think even on one of your jobs, like obviously, like some builders use their own earth moving contractors or what have you, but I always try and have a bloke there to drill the holes because otherwise you rock up and like nothing against people that drive excavators, but like he doesn't have to put the post in the hole, so he doesn't give a fuck if it's not in the right spot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it'll plumb or
because you know if they go off skew, if you're in a meter in the hole, you got a 150, 200 mil base plate.
Yeah.
Best case scenario, you got 50 mil cover, which is legal, like the legal minimum, you know. So you rock up to a job, you got concrete booked to 3 o'clock, and we'll hang and pour a job in a day. Like that's standard, but not if you.
Yeah, the holes are a bit out.
Not if the holes are out, because then you got to chip the hole, then you got to clean the bottom of the hole.
Yeah.
And it, you know, so like, I think it was even on one of your jobs. I just ate like one of the boys I had working for me, and the problem was we worked together, so we're probably pretty good mates as well. Just didn't rock up to drill the holes. So then like I'm taken away from what I'm doing. I'm almost getting anxiety about it now, you know, like, and so I literally just got to a point where I was like, fuck this. I'm like, and like as much of a mate I am to the boys, I'm the boss. And that, like,
I think, mate, that's awesome. Like the fact that you've realised that is a big thing. I struggled with that for a long time, and I struggle a little bit now sometimes as well. But you definitely have to be the boss. There's a fine line between being too much of one of the boys and not being the boss. But I don't know. There's a lot in that. Like I still do think it's really important to. Have that camaraderie, like take the boys to a pub lunch.
You've got to have a good relationship and that sort of stuff. But
they have to know the boundaries.
When the work's on, the work's on, and we've got to work, you know. And then part of working is being punctual, and then that, like, you know. And same as you've named your business after yourself. I see a lot of house raising companies out there, whether they start with A because that's the old phone book trick, or they some gimmick on the height of the house, rah. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer. And people, like, even when I started my business, people say, oh, don't name it after yourself. It's like, it's bad business practice. But I didn't start a business.
Not with the name like that, mate.
Yeah. But I didn't start a business. I didn't start a business to get it to a point and flick it off and have it be some, like, everything I do. And I know this is probably why I'll never be mega rich, because I give too much of a fuck about what I'm doing, you know?
Don't set, like, I don't,
and when I say mega rich, I mean like, which I probably wouldn't be anyway. But what I'm saying is, like,
life is what you tell yourself, mate. So you're setting yourself a limiting belief by telling yourself that.
I'll take that on board. but what I'm saying is,
you care.
Always say to the boys, it's my name on the fence.
Yeah.
You know? You put a post in the hole, and for whatever reason, like, sometimes we're measuring up posts, and that's why I do my own steel, because it's a quick turnaround. Like, you drill the holes, you're on site the next day. There's still times where you get caught out with rain, and you're like, fuck, I couldn't imagine waiting a week. Like, once you've drilled the holes, you know, or you see people that have ordered the post and then they hit rock on half the holes, so you got to cut every post. Like, do you know what I mean? It's just like,
mate, I think it's a smart move.
There's still times when we put a post in the hole, and you look up, and if you don't have minimum 250, 300 mil gap between the post and the barrel, obviously you don't have that cover underneath the stump. And you'll look up, and like me and Sammy, the dude that stumps their heads for me, we'll look at each other and we'll be like, oh. And having that feeling isn't bad, but if you were to not pull that, because no one's ever going to see underneath that post. However, that post is going to rust out because it's that far off the ground. There's no concrete underneath it.
Mate, the amount of renos we've done, and we've pulled out old stumps, and even worse, where the bottom of the stump obviously had been pushed down in slop or water, and it's hanging out of the concrete like 50, 100 mil. Yeah. And it's sat there for however long. Like, eventually it's going to fail.
And that's I hope that's it's not so much there's things you do see where all the posts are in the right spot and that sort of stuff, because like that stuff you can get caught out for. It's the days when you're like, fuck, this is going to cost me some money to fix these 10 stumps. We're gonna have
mate, I think the fact that you've owned it, you're taking some personal responsibility now, you're getting yourself fit again. So just quickly, because I think you've given some great advice, we'll start to wrap this up. What do you do? Like, what's your hobbies? I'm pretty keen on the old car that you rocked up in. So, what gets you away from house racing?
Me and my little brother. My little brother is a real similar person to me, except he probably rides my coattails, you know. So he probably we're really into cars. That like I used to be I still got a couple of rotaries. I used to be into rotaries, and like
I won't hold that against you, mate.
The thing we've probably got around lately is, and when I say lately, last 3 or 4 years, is LS engines, you know. But we sort of got onto them before, like now coronavirus, they're pretty expensive. Before that, where you could buy like a VX Commodore, and we just go out to Queensland Raceway and just thrash it, you know, until we crashed it at the track, because it was only $2,500. Yeah. And then you just take the motor out and then get it like so. Yeah. My little brother's got an MX-5 that he's put a 6-litre turbo L98 in. So like, which is crazy. Like, it's like, if anyone that knows cars, you know, so
it's awesome.
And then like, so that's what we do.
What's the old Jigger you turned up in today?
So I got a 64 Impala, and then I'm into American cars. I like old Holdens. I'm probably not so much new. I'm not a real big fan of new Commodores and stuff, and obviously probably a bit young. I got priced out of the market on the old Monaros. So I've got around sort of American cars. So I've got a 64 Chevy C10 Ute. Yeah. And a 64 Impala, like a Ute and a car from the same year.
Yeah, awesome.
And I got both of them out of the States, you know. So my Ute I bought out of the States off some Mexican ads dude.
So do you get time to get out in them and use them a bit? Like,
yeah, Sundays I try and, you know, go for a 2-hour drive, 3-hour drive every Sunday. Just no matter what I got on, you got to do that. Otherwise, it's just...
No, mate, that is awesome. Look, thanks heaps for coming in. Obviously, we've got a few jobs coming up, so we're going to be seeing you around. But I think everyone that's been watching today would definitely got a lot out of that. Like, you've given some good advice, hearing your story, where you've come from, hard times, good times, all those types of things. So appreciate your time, mate. And yeah, we'll wrap it up.
Awesome. Thank you.
Cheers, mate.
It's a bit awkward with me.
Everything discussed during the Level Up podcast with me, Duayne Pearce, is based solely on my own personal experiences and those experiences of my guests. The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for general information only, and any reliance on the information provided in this podcast is done at your own risk. We recommend that you obtain your own professional advice in respect to the topics discussed during this podcast.